Hey folks, David Hubbell here, Saturday, November 7th. Another important lesson in growing Mirliton is to ensure that you always have feedstock for the following year. And one way we do this is we put aside some of the fruit from this current season and let it sprout so that you can always be sure that you'll have a new plant for next year in case this vine doesn't come back, or if you just want to expand your crop. And if neither one of those are the case, you can always share it with a friend. There's always people looking to get Mirliton to grow. So stay tuned. It's the 10th week of the 2020 fall Mirliton season, and we're just a little bit past the halfway mark of the production process for these vines. And if you're interested to continue following along with the progress of this Boudreaux Robert vine, do me a favor, click the subscribe button below and click that bell, and you'll be informed of new upcoming episodes. Well folks, I just want to kind of survey the grounds here. You can see the Mirliton have really come on and they're maturing right now. If you remember last week or the week before, I talked about how they're kind of like Easter eggs. Well, when they're up here hidden amongst all the foliage, sometimes you don't see them initially. So you got to be pretty vigilant in finding them. But you can see as you go along how they're hidden up there. So there's a lot of them that I hadn't even noticed until this morning. So it's pretty interesting. There we go with some more down there. So one thing I was going to comment on is that, you can see a certain amount of the Mirliton have already grown, but you almost have to dig in there to the vines, because oftentimes what will happen is you may look on the outside fringes and just see a few. And you think, okay, well, I only have about 20. But then when you dig into the interior, you'll start to realize that you've actually got more like 40 or 50. So that's one thing to always think about. Even though you think you've got a certain amount, you got to really check. So it's always a nice surprise when you find out you have more than you thought you had. If you've been watching through the last several weeks, you'll also start noticing my citrus is starting to turn. So that's also another exciting thing. But as I talked about too, typically if I didn't have bird netting, you'd have a bunch of Mirliton just hanging down. So this was kind of fun to come along and all of a sudden start seeing where it's poking through the bird netting, because I, once again, did not realize I had these many up underneath it. And I'll just have to get up there with a ladder and reach through the top. I kind of like this view because I see my citrus and my Mirliton hanging down at the same time. It'd be a fun activity to get the kids out and help them when you're ready to pick them, because it's like I said, if you consider it like Easter egg hunting, it becomes an adventure to see how many you can find. So it's a good way to get the younger generation interested, and hopefully it'll carry on the traditions and the interest in growing Mirliton. An important part of growing Mirliton is always being prepared for the next growing season. Sometimes your yields aren't very big, and like I've had the last several years, and so you always want to be ensured that you have your vine available. And so what I always suggest doing is that you want to save at least 3 Mirliton to sprout and transplant over the winter in pots, so that you will be sure that you will have a vine to grow. Now of course this won't help you if you have a drought and other conditions destroy your growth during the summer, but at least from a standpoint of freeze protection, this ensures that you will have one in the following years. So a typical Mirliton looks like this, and you notice the bottom, it's just kind of got the furrows in there like we talked about, and just a little deep groove. And you'll notice that in this one it's been picked a couple of weeks and you don't see a whole lot there. However, as the older that they get, remember we sprout these and we plant this, and that's all you need. You don't have a single seed, because the seed is inside here. There's one seed that you plant, and the seed comes from inside here and it feeds off the fruit. And so what you'll start to see is the seed will start to drop as the plant matures and is ready to start sprouting. So what you'll do is put a few of these aside, some of the bigger ones, more mature, until you see that happening. And then at that point, what I like to do is take it and put it in a brown paper bag, such as this. So let's look inside. So this is the one that I had in the brown paper bag. And simply what you do is you put it in. It's just at the point where it's going to start to sprout out in the not too distant future. You can even see the seeds starting to split a bit. So I'm going to put this back in this paper bag, and then we're going to put it in a cool, dry place. So I've got my Mirliton in my paper bag, and it's just loose. It's not very tight. I only have one in here because what I want to do is still ensure enough air circulation so that the fruit doesn't get mildewed. And I've got this old wine rack here that's covered up, and it's pretty dark. Got tile floors, and I have found that over the years this has been a good place to sprout it. So I'll just put it up underneath the dark area here, cover it up, and I'll check it every week to just see the progress. And in the few weeks ahead, I'll show you what it looks like. So stay tuned. So folks, I hope this video helped you understand what you need to do to prepare your seed Mirliton for the next season. And if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do so by clicking that red button below and hitting that bell. Also, if you know of anybody who would find this information useful, please share it with them as well. If you'd like to learn more in-depth information about growing Mirliton, check out Dr. Lance Hill's mirliton.org website, mirliton.org, or my Mirliton Man of Mobile Facebook page. Also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below or email them to me at rpcajun2r@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.